Why do you prefer, I assume you prefer calling from the box as opposed to on the field? What do you
Yeah, well, the plan all along was to do both in the preseason, so probably going to be down for this game. So I've done them both. Really good sight lines up there. Have good coaches on the sideline. So we're going to try both in the preseason. So we'll try it the other way this game.
Do you gain anything by being down on the sideline?
Definitely, yeah. The eye contact with the players. Getting to communicate directly. There's positives to both. So no preference. So I'd like to see how it works out this week.
Klint, just dealing with some of the injuries, especially like some of your skill guys, do you feel like you have a good sense of what this offense can be?
I think we have a lot of work to find out because there's been so much attrition, especially at skill positions, guys being in and out. The continuity that we're seeking isn't there yet, and that's just part of football. Everybody has that problem. So it'll be really good to get AK back in practice and get Shaheed back and Tolly back. But until then, that it gives guys great opportunities to step up.
Klint, how do you think that has helped you get a better measure of the depth this team has?
Yeah, get a good depth for the whole roster, get a good feel for the whole roster. And, for our tackles, guys like Landon and Ole are getting good opportunities with Tolly being out. The receivers, it's good to have Bub Means in the game, see what he can do. So, yeah, it's just we get one more opportunity before the regular season starts to see where guys are at.
Speaking of Bub, just what have you seen from his progression throughout camp?
Yeah, I think in the moment he came here, you can definitely see his explosiveness, fly off the tape. Really like his intelligence, but it's one game of work, and we're pleased with where he's at, and just got to keep growing him.
What did you learn in your first opportunity to call plays in the NFL?
Yeah, trust your coaches. Going back to 2021, just trusting the guys around you and trusting your preparation, and a lot of great communication on the sideline, and just using all your resources.
Did you take that into this experience and help you with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And just communicating that ahead of time with our coaches. Like, hey, I want to hear you guys on the headset. I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to over-communicate. I don't want crickets on the headset. So too much information is not a bad thing.
And one of the things that some people have talked about with you in this offense in particular is the kind of everybody sounded like one message, whether it's you speaking or Janoko or John Benton. Is that something that you guys, had to work on before you even started working with the players, or is that just kind of come naturally?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the expectation of since we came together as a staff. The expectation is to be on the same page as our players, and it's not always going to be perfectly that way, but that is something that we communicate to our players and something we stress as coaches, and because of that we got to spend a lot of time together and getting right in our film sessions before we go communicate to the players. I think it's important, because the players are giving us everything they have, and we have to give them a unified front.
Klint, Alvin Kamara used a word that I thought was like kind of a brilliant description of what works with this offensive scheme. He said intentional. Is that easier said than done? It seems like an obvious thing, but is that something that as you progressed in this offense over time that you realize you guys are very intentional about what you do, it works better?
Yeah, I think that's what we strive for, and in this league, you're going to be faced with some really good defensive coordinators and some really good players you're going against, and think about a guy like Demario Davis, and the guy watches a lot of tape, and he can smell a rat pretty quick if you're not showing him one thing and giving him the other. So I think we just give a lot of credit to the defense, and so we have to do our part to make it all look the same.
Is there anything from when you first started coaching that has been something that you have learned works really well and has become like a new principle of yours that you didn't necessarily start out with?
I don't know if I could pinpoint one thing. No, I just think just in an accumulation of reps over what's been successful, what's not, and what are good ways to communicate, what's not. And I think we really lean on the players to show us that. We see their reactions to us and how they respond, and we're trying to play off of them too. So to answer your question the easiest way, no. It's just trial and error and failing forward.
And then when you have, guys with unique skill sets, Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara come to mind, but always done a good job, or have you learned to be like, how can I, do what's best to take advantage of the skill sets of these kind of guys instead of just trying to make them fit in the system?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're hard-headed, then it's not going to go very far. It's all about the players and getting them in position, and that's a great challenge that we have as coaches. And they have their helmets on Sunday, we don't, so we got to get them in great positions, and that's something that we're always talking about upstairs. And just because it worked in 2008 one way doesn't mean it's going to work in 2024 for the Saints. So we have to adapt to our guys.
Some of the quarterbacks have mentioned that you guys use more pure progressions. What's the benefit of that for a quarterback, and how does it make it easier?
Well, I think we definitely give them a little bit of both. I think overall it's when you use a pure progression play, you can kind of narrow someone's focus, narrow their vision, narrow their key, so they're not trying to see everything pre-snap, they're trying to see one thing. But the great thing about Derek Carr is that he can handle anything. He just I think it's our job as coaches to try to narrow it down for him so he can play fast.
Klint, do you think there's an art or a science to play calling? I mean, is there a skill? Can you be a great offensive coordinator, not a great play caller?
I think that's definitely true. That's the guys that I've been around that have been elite at it. And you definitely recognize that in what they see in a game and how they make adjustments and how they communicate to the players. And I'm by no means anywhere in that field right now. I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot to prove, but I'm doing it with the coaches around me and our players.
How much of it falls on what you do Monday to Sunday?
We like to tell the players that the game's already been called, by that time. You kind of have what you want to do narrowed down situationally so the players can know what to expect, what's coming up, so there's not any surprises on game day.
Is there any added stress not having a settled offensive line at this point as you're going to get closer and closer to the season?
I think it's just with all positions, you never have that comfort. I've never been on a team where you know exactly what you're going to get, and the minute that you do, it all changes with one injury. So you better keep coaching everybody on the roster, and I think that's one thing our coaches do a great job of doing.
You're saying you have a lot to prove. Does how Minnesota went kind of factor into that for you at all, or is that?
Yeah, well, I think it's just a new year, and we got to go find a way to win. It's not me. It's about myself. It's about our assistant coaches and our players all working together. It's really got nothing to do with me.
Does the fact that John and Rick and some of the other, it worked for your dad, does that help with your familiarity? I imagine just like you knew some of these guys just from spending time around your dad.
Absolutely, yeah. Being in the fire with some guys on a headset before, being with Rick and Andrew Janocko and Coach Barone, knowing John Benton, you don't want the first time you make an adjustment on the sideline to be the very first time. So we've communicated before, and that's really important. And it's important that we keep gelling with all members of our staff.
Looking forward to coaching your first game in the Dome as a Saints coach, and I know you.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Really excited. Really excited for the practice we got coming up to get familiar with it. A really impressive arena, and it'll be fun to be on the other side of it.
Dennis was talking today about that last set of team stuff where you kind of carding the Tennessee looks is almost kind of being like a walkthrough for the coaching staff too.
Yeah, I think we got to give the players a little different front. We get to see the Saints every day, and it's good to go see a different opponent, different front structure. But those walkthroughs, they take place pre-practice, and then hopefully by practice, we're going full speed.
How do you think the Niners play caller did the other day?
Oh, man.
That's a good one. That was a good one. Hey, they won.
What were those conversations like with Clay after the game?
Just, that's my brother. So I talked about probably everything else other than football, and have a really special relationship with him, and really grateful for my time working with him, and really proud of him.
Dennis also mentioned 95-yard touchdown drive, and what were some of the bright spots that you saw from it? Obviously, the scoring was the brightest spot, but other parts of it.
Yeah, I just think the excitement the players showed when the ball went in on 4th and 1. That's fun to see the guys get rewarded for all their hard work throughout the April to now, you know, that's really, really cool to see. So happy for the guys, and, you know, definitely that's our expectation going forward.
Is that important just to have that kind of at least that one long drive where you kind of build confidence, even though it's like, you know, the preseason, it doesn't have to be perfect, you're still kind of building on it?
Absolutely, yeah. That was extremely important for our guys to have that success, and, you know, we got a long season ahead of us, and, you know, those are the kind of drives that can really get a team going. You know, when you show someone that you can run the football down the field the way our guys did, that was exciting. But we also know that there's a lot of work to be done, and it's, you know, the expectation is more and more and more. So we're just going to keep harping on the guys to try to do better.
How close was that drive to the way that your offense is supposed to look in terms of the control of the ball, the diversity of plays, and you know?
Well, I don't think it's ever the same. You might even plan it to be one way, and you come into the game, and now you got to throw it 50 times to win it, or you got to go win a game, you know, 6-3. You know, it doesn't matter how you do it. So we got to be able to prepare to win a lot of different ways.
Time for a couple more.
How close do you think this team is to being what it needs to be from a schematic and execution standpoint, given all of the injuries that you've had?
Yeah, I think there's a sense of urgency to get our tails ready for week 1, and regardless of how close we are, it doesn't matter. We better figure it out because it's starting here in a couple weeks.
Well, just since this is a new scheme, I mean, we were all kind of familiar with the way the last coaches did it, in the lead up to the game, like dot meeting and all that stuff. How do you plan on, like, what's kind of anything you can tell us about your routine? Like, are you going to meet Saturday with the quarterbacks, or?
Yeah, you know, we're kind of getting into that battle rhythm right now, but you know, Coach Da gives us a walkthrough on Saturday. We try to, you know, meet extra with the quarterbacks the night before the game. You know, I'm sure the last regime did the same thing, but we're meeting as much time as DA will give us to meet.
Well, you talked about being able to win different ways in this league. Obviously, you got to be multiple and diversified, but is there something to that cliche of having an identity, and do you believe in that? Is that important?
Oh, it's extremely important, you know, and, you know, DA really stresses us being a physical, smart team. So that's coming right from the head coach, and that's what we want to be as an offense. And can you be physical without running the ball? Yes, but we definitely, you know, it's part of who we want to be as a team that can run it versus an 8-man front. And DC has to be able to get the skill guys going when they take it away and go make plays down the field. So there's a lot of ways to win, and you guys have all seen it every Sunday, you know, and it always comes down to the wire, so you better be darn good in situational football too, 2-minute. So, you know, we just got to keep taking advantage of our practice opportunities and just improving in all situations.
Now that you've worked with Carr for a few months, just what's one thing that maybe, or a few things, if there's nothing like super specific that just like stands out about him that maybe you didn't realize until you got around him?
Well, you know, what sticks out about him that I didn't know about him is just, you know, how important his faith is to him, and how that shines in his personality and the way he treats his teammates. And I think that's, you know, really special for a guy that can be that outwardly spoken about, you know, his relationship, his spirituality. And it's really impressive to me, and I don't think that probably gets talked about enough. And he has to go prove it on Sunday too. But, you know, I think it's really cool between him and Demario Davis, how outwardly spoken those guys are about their faith.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.